We need more flowers. Yes, flowers. We need more loves. We need more love. We need more flowers. More guts. More together. We need more time. More desire. More drama. More red, pink, purple. More rainbows. We need more Romeos and Juliets. We need more brides and supermoms. So yes, we need more flowers. We need more ideas, more imagination. More buzzing bees and beating hearts. More flowers. More. More weird, more wild, more wonderful. We need more beauty. We need more joy. That's why we need more flowers.
Hello, everybody. This is Solomon here, and we are so happy to have everybody in here and have a chat with our lovely guest today, all the way from Scotland. Here we are. We have Alison Bradley. Hi, how are you, Alison? How are you doing?
I'm fabulous, darling. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for coming on. And today we have lots to talk about.
Oh, yes. We do.
So it's all about vision of 2021. So how's it doing in Scotland nowadays?
Scotland, well, you'd hate the weather, so we'll not talk about that. Scotland is the same as the UK, which is we're sitting in, I don't call it lockdown, I call it breakdown. So we're all having a breakdown in Scotland. It's tough. It's absolutely tough. The same as it is all over the world. It's tough. There are pockets of okayness, but in general, it's tough.
It is tough is the word to sum it up.
Yeah.
And we've been in our fourth spikes of depressions since fourth spike of lockdown and depressions and whatever you call it, since February, and it has not been normal, but it's the abnormality, the new normality. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting. I've always wondered what on earth normal is. I don't know what normal is. So what is one person's normal is someone's abnormal, I find. My normal is too much travel. You travel a lot as well. I travel, I think, too much, which many people think is very glamorous, which is not actually. And I've seen more, hotels and airport lounges than I care to think about. So it's not in the least bit glamorous, and it's very exhausting, really. But I've been at home since January. Actually, I haven't travelled since January, and I love it. Don't tell anyone. But I love it. It's really, really cool. But I am missing people. I'm a natural and gifted tactile person, as you well know. So I find it difficult when we first went into this distance thing. If I saw someone, I started to tremble because I would normally go and actually hug them. I hug everyone.
That's nice.
It is. Sometimes they don't want to be hugged, though, particularly if they're Dutch. For a nation that kisses you 3 times when they see you, they don't like hugging. So I don't. That doesn't equate to me. And in the Far East, I find hugging is an interesting subject matter.
It's a little bit of an art.
It is. It is it's also about breaking down barriers. I mean, I suppose what I'm known for best is breaking down barriers, and and I love doing that. It's really good fun. But I love people. I'm a people person.
Yeah, talking about people, there are lots and lots of people who are sending in a lot of greetings now. Everybody's saying hi all over from Holland, from the UK, and from Pakistan, India, as well as Taiwan and Hong Kong, of course. Everybody's all eyes on us, Alison.
Hi, Hong Kongers. Hi, Hong Kongers.
Hello, hello, hello.
The best cocktail bars in the world are in Hong
Oh,
Kong.
he's gonna go into that. She's gonna go into that.
Absolutely.
She's gonna go into
The
that.
best. The best. I remember once coming to Hong Kong and I'd been traveling for, I can't remember how long, but I'd been in 9 separate beds during that period of time. And I got to Hong Kong to this very famous hotel. I won't mention names. And I'm in this bed, and you contacted me because you'd realized I was in Hong Kong. And my answer, you said, let's do afternoon tea. I said, I am not leaving this bed. It's the best bed. I will come out tomorrow, but not today. So yeah, I love Hong Kong. It's a great place. Great place. And of
Yeah.
course, we have a big connection with it because Dennis's parents lived in Hong Kong for many, many years.
Oh yeah. So you told me it was during what when was it?
World War II, the run up. They met before World War II. They married in Shanghai, and then they moved to Hong Kong. So they were part of the expat community, and so there's this big link there. That's where they met, etc. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, you never know. And then you were there, and we met, and then we did our thing, and then we did our little exhibition, and then it's just like the flower family all over the world. That's how people get to know each other, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting. There's if you want to call it a kinship through flowers, it's quite interesting. There's lots of, given the position of what I do and have done for many years now, I'm very aware of why people want to know me quite often. But then they get the reality and it's hard to deal with. I'm not what people expect. So that's good.
Yeah. So talking about that, now like we are in this kind of like a strange kind of situation with the COVID and everything. What do you think about our floral industry? Is everybody who is so eager to know now?
Well, we're not out of the woods, and we won't be out of the woods for some time. I think people have to be realistic about it. The future is going to be very, very different.
Hmm.
There's no way everything can be healed just by a vaccine because so much damage has been done, not just to the flower world, but in general, anyway. And the chain of supply it was something that was being analyzed anyway because I think I was approached by a very well-known grower in Holland from the company that was then known as Anko Pure Vanda, but is now Ansu. And Steve had contacted me. Well, we've known each other for more years than I'm prepared to admit. And he phoned me one day and said, the Netherlands is in trouble. And I said, yeah, you are. You are in trouble. And he said, we need help. I said, absolutely. He said, and I believe that one person can make a difference in life. And I said, totally. I completely agree with that. So who are you going to contact? He said, no, I'm making the phone call. He said, you can make the difference. I said, oh, no, I can't. No. I said, I can't sort the Netherlands issues. I can perhaps help. So I said, but if you want to fly over, I've got a couple of Dutch guys flying in, Pete Van Kampen and Marius Dekker from G-Fresh and DGI. Pete has just retired from G-Fresh this last week. And I said, but they're coming. You have to ask their permission if it's okay for you to come too. So 3 huge Dutch people arrived. I drive a Volvo Estate, Solomon. You know the size of that car. 3 Dutchies in the car where one of them, their head is touching the ceiling of the Volvo. It's ridiculous how tall these people are. And they clamber into our place. I make cookies and we sit down and I said, okay, tell me the truth. I need to know figures. And both Dennis and I were shocked. We were genuinely shocked at what was happening. That year alone, 130 growers went out of business. Now, this is before COVID.
130
growers
Wow.
went out of business. Well, that on, you know, if you just look at the surface of something like that, that's horrific, yeah, because that's not just one grower. Once you start talking to the Dutch growers or any grower, it's usually a family situation. So quite often it's maybe as much as 4 generations of growers, and then suddenly the business goes. And they're evolutionary insofar as they maybe used to grow cucumbers or lettuce or something like that, and then slowly evolved to flowers or whatever. So it needed more looking at. And then I said, so, and all these PR companies, etc. He said, oh yeah. So I said, I need figures. How much do these people pay for this? Because if it was Dennis, who's a marketing strategist, I said, you know, his first question was, so what'd you get? What's a tangible result of all this? Well, one company alone he cited, they were talking 6 figures in PR budget per annum. That's ridiculous. That's almost criminal. So I said, okay, let me think about it. I said, so is there something when you join these organizations, what are you not getting? Is there something you can identify you don't get? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what is it? He said, well, they keep promising us designers to come and work with our flowers, and it never happens. He said, we were given from one organization a list of 100 designers and no one ever came. I said, okay, name 15. He said, what? I said, give me 15 names of designers. Oh, what country? I said, no, worldwide. Where do you want? Who do you want? 15. Give me 15 names that you want to come and work with your product. So he gave me the first name and I said, sorry, not working with him. No. This is not the right person for this concept. Okay. I said, but 15 more. And I said, and in the 15, I want at least 2 names of young floral designers or florists who are up and coming, because if I do this project, we need to be doing it not just for existing but for the future. So they gave me 15 names. What happened next is supposedly quite famous now. They flew out of Scotland, bless them, leaving midges and bad weather behind them, to Hollandshire, and they touched down in Amsterdam Airport, Aalsmeer, not Aalsmeer, Schiphol, and said, and they opened their mobiles, and on the mobile it said, okay, well, 11 have said, right, Mama Bear, what do you need? We're in. There was no money for this. There's still no budget for the ambassadors to come. I said, the only thing I insist is that they stay in a nice hotel. They are not sleeping in horrible conditions. They'll be treated with respect. If we're not paying these people, I'll find a way of promoting them, because I'm quite good at that. But they need to be fed properly. So we eat as a family. So you sit at the same table as they do. You know, there's no hierarchical thing here. And they said, well, yeah, of course. I said, no, it's not of course. That's not how it's been going on. Let's break the barriers down. And so when they arrived, he said, this is so exciting. I said, yeah, but now you're going to deal with reality. I said, and they gave me, I think it was, I got 10,000 euros to start. So that paid for air flights, and it paid for accommodation, it paid for food, it paid to start setting things up. And what happened next shocked even me. It's now this global organization called Floral Fundamentals, and everybody is connected. The big difficulty was, because these guys have had all this stuff pitched at them for years. So I'm standing there doing a pitch on a stage that had been built by Steve, which was, the pallets that things are delivered on, the wooden pallet, Solomon?
Yeah.
Well, he'd taken plastic wrap and had wrapped all these things together and then put cardboard on top, then more plastic wrap, and then more and more. Bearing in mind they're Dutch, you know how tall I am. I am not a tall woman at all. And so he built this platform, this stage for me. They gave me a microphone, but there was no steps up to this platform. There was no way to get on it. So the Dutch lifted me up and went boom, and I'm on this. How embarrassing. Oh my God. So, and I'm doing this talk. Well, I'm a seasoned speaker, stroke demonstrator, and I can tell body language very quickly. And these tall guys with their hands in their pockets with this, the look. That there were some faces in the audience who knew me who were quietly smiling because they probably knew what was going to happen next. And but there was a barrier. So I said, okay. So I called first. I said, I want you to listen to the florists, because you are standing there as growers saying these florists won't pay decent money for our flowers. We're not getting enough money to cover the cost of production. And these florists are saying to me, the person in the middle, well, these growers are so greedy. They're just charging ridiculous prices that we can't afford. We can't make a living. So you need to talk to one another. So Bjorn Kroner was there, Bjornsky. So Bjorn talked to them, yeah. And then a voice behind me said, can I talk? Can I talk? So up comes Steinara Hansen. He leaps onto the stage like a gazelle, twine, and he talks. And then Lana Bates, Lana? Lana comes up. She doesn't go on the stage, clever girl. And she's talking and she's crying as she's talking. Now, this is a woman who is an advocate. Okay, she's a florist at this point, but she was a solicitor in Russia. This is not a soft woman. This is a tough cookie. And she's crying, and you could see the Dutch melt. You could see them melting in front of me. Steve had said just before we started, how much money do we need to do this? I said, okay, well, if we're going to do 3 photo shoots a year, we're going to do digital magazines, we're going to have a platform, we're going to have to do a website, we're going to have to pay their food and do. I said, they have to share rooms because I don't have enough money for them not to share rooms, but it also breaks down barriers. We've had some funny stories about that. Yeah, I need about 50,000 euros. And there was silence. The 3 men just went, what? And I said, I really do need 50,000 to do this for a year. When you add up, and they're like, you can't do all this on 50,000 euros. Oh, really? He said, you can't do that. I said, oh, no, I'm Scottish, darling. I'm a businesswoman. Of course I can do this. I can do this. I have to convince a lot of people to work with me. So, of course, none of us are paid. Well, that's not true. There's 2 people paid. But they're all on minimum wage because we do this to try and save the industry. What happened next was incredible. We had stories that would melt your heart, that would really melt your heart. But the first barrier was to start taking florists into the growers to see how much effort, how much energy goes into producing these flowers. Now, in March this year, an unfortunate video went out. If I could find the person that shot that video, they would never be able to walk again. Because they were not supposed to do something like that. They damaged the flower world, not just what was happening in Holland at the time. They damaged the flower world. They damaged growers in South America. They damaged growers in Africa. They damaged even China. They damaged because they showed destruction and waste. Now, people were, you should take these flowers out to people. Legally, it couldn't be done. You had to understand the whole story, and no one told the whole story. So from then, I said, give me time. So I made a couple of phone calls. I'd had a couple of calls from America, from the news streams out there, saying, can you send us a video? I said, oh, I'll try and get it. Of course, I wasn't going to send them the video. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll send you a new video. How about that, darlings? So I got a friend of mine to shoot a video where all the designers worked with their mobile phones. And it was called Growth and New Hope. You should have some pictures of that, I think. Are you able to do that? Am I making technical problems?
It's with the floral fundamentals.
Yeah.
We grow. Floral fundamentals united through flowers.
That's it, and that's the hashtag that went out. So we posted hope for the future, hashtag united through flowers, spelled THRU, with advice. And it suddenly became this global communication. So all producers were able to link into that. That was the idea, was to try and bring energy back to the industry. With view to the future, we will lose a very large proportion of florist shops as such. We have already lost some growers. We haven't lost anyone in floral fundamentals because we have this network support thing going on where people will go in and help one another. Let me show you the other side of the coin. Can I talk about the other side of the coin for a moment? Because I do work globally, as you know. So I found myself last November in a place called Kunming in China, where I was doing a lecture. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun there because they had people there from Tibet in traditional costume. What lovely people! Anyway, not a lot of English spoken, but okay. But I have a wonderful translator, Judy, and I said I want to do a question and answer thing on trends. But before we were in, Pete did the research, and then I got to speak to one of the people at Kunming, and they told me how many growers there were now in China. We're talking hundreds of thousands of growers. We're talking growth too quick, far too quick, in a growth industry at that time. They wanted me to go back out in July, this past July, which had to be cancelled. Then this month again was a postponement, also cancelled. And they will have been hit too, because they didn't have the chance to build up a background. The strength is, and the strength of the future is being online. It's about social media. The strength for the future is to be a true entrepreneur. If you are just in a box, do you know what I mean?
Yes. About the complexity thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you are a classic case of not being in a box. This is a compliment. This is a compliment. I remember once adjudicating at a master's school, and I had a chat with the teachers afterwards and said, so what are you hoping for the people who pass? Because the pass rate for the final year of true master's school was 30%. That's how many. So 70% failed.
Yeah.
And that's after 11 years of education, all government paid. I said, so what's your hope? And they said, a single hope. I said, okay, what is it? And they said that they're entrepreneurs who can function in a multifunctional way. That's the future for the floral world.
It is
with
actually
it.
difficult, isn't it? Like especially with like unstable times now, because you don't know when to get in the social media, what to do in the social media. Should you be doing crossover with people? Are you gonna crossover with uh, different materials and stuff like that? So I think it's a support network is very important. Like you said, floral fundamentals, bringing in the growers as well as the florists, and we need a good facilitator, of course, like yourself, in
Well,
order to do that. Yeah.
I think that's probably a discovered strength, but as long as I've been in business, I've always been a facilitator, a quiet facilitator, hopefully. Quite often to sort problems out while hugging at the same time, because the amount of jealousy in the industry is huge. It's just destructive. But there's equally, in terms of Fusion Flowers magazine, I was always interested in discovering the origins of things. Because quite often you see a designer on stage and they're very good at presenting themselves. They're a past master at presentation. But the work's not theirs. The origin is not theirs. It might be someone else who's not good at presenting themselves. They're not, they're, and you can teach people how to do that. You can educate them as to how to communicate. Not everyone has to shout and scream and be like a lunatic like me. Okay,
No.
I'm not a lunatic. Or a hugger even, not even necessarily a hugger. But there's ways of doing it, Can you show that little video I sent you to people?
Yeah. I think we shown it at the beginning, but we can
Oh,
show
did
it.
we? Okay, I didn't see the beginning. I'm only seeing
Ah,
you and your gorgeousness. I can't see the
okay.
live stream at all. I can't see the live stream.
Digital thing like that we're talking about. We know that like Fusion Flowers just gone completely digital. Is there any?
Yeah. We've been forced into doing that. I have to. Oh, here's people. Hi, John. Hello, darling. We've been forced into doing that. We've had to address a problem, and it's interesting to see how quite a few magazines haven't addressed the problem yet. And it's the cost and the realism of mailing things out. There are fewer air flights. There's been 3 increases in mailing costs in the UK. There are countries that are not accepting mail that we didn't know about. We didn't understand that there was countries either stockpiling or destroying mail.
Wow, destroying man? Seriously?
Seriously destroying mail. And the first time we got a real flag about it, we'd had a few where we just send out new ones, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, there you are. That's a boy. Well said, Jan. What happened was a gentleman contacted Dennis to say, we haven't received the last 2 issues. So normally what we would do is contact our distributor and say, sling out the 2 magazines. This time what happened was when Dennis contacted them, they said, well, there's a problem with that country. And Dennis said, so what's the problem? And they said, they're not accepting mail. And Dennis said, well, why? What? But we've been sending you mail to send them. Yeah, well, we're hoping they're stockpiling it, was what was said. And Dennis said, well, is there no way this gentleman can't get his magazines? And he said, right, okay. So spoke to the girl, and she said, well, I've spoken to a courier, and she says they can't guarantee, but it will cost about £76 to send 2 magazines. Well, at that stage, I think that's more than a 2-year overseas airmail subscription. So it became very evident that that was the problem. New Zealand we knew about because they'd gone into full lockdown. But they were meticulous, so people were eventually getting their magazines. And the problem was the people in South Africa didn't know this.
Oh. They don't have. They don't have.
America was the same problem. It was 130% increase on the cost of postage.
Right.
But again, it was being stockpiled. So we had to make a decision. how to go ahead. So we made the decision to go digital. So we're only available digital. We don't offer subscriptions anymore because who knows how the situation will change again. So we have flags. So people can subscribe to our free newsletter. Plus, we're all over social media. So when a new issue comes out, they're notified. If people have a subscription, then we automatically send them the digital edition. And if that's not suitable, then what we do is we refund them. It's as simple as that. It's been quite. Oh, that's an interesting question, Sue. Can I answer Sue Will's question?
Of course. She is asking, hi, Alison. How have the Floral Fundamental team stayed in touch over the past few months?
Well, the team really essentially is Uncle Pete, Mr. Pete Van Kampen, and myself, and we are almost in daily contact. Even when he was in hospital having surgery, we were still. And we've come up with. Pete came up with a great idea called the homestay photo shoot. So we discovered. So that's how we do it. It's all done by social media. If any of my baby bears, as I call the ambassadors, they know they have a direct line to me at any point in time. If they're in trouble, they contact me. The same applies to the growers. And we were able to address a very interesting situation that occurred earlier this year, where the grower was getting below production value on the cost of their flowers. But some designers were having to pay above the odds cost when buying the flowers. So I said, this could be the strength of floral fundamentals. You need to talk to one another. You need to tell the growers how much you're paying for their flowers. And the growers have to tell you truthfully how much they're getting for their flowers. So I can give you a good example. I'm not going to state who the grower was for obvious reasons. But this grower was getting 22 cents for a flower.
Okay.
And the florist was being charged £1.45 for the same flower. Now, there's a percentage markup, okay, but then it gets unrealistic. Pete was able to tell me exactly what the flowers should cost wholesale to the trade, and the disparity was huge. So the growers en masse went to the wholesalers concerned and said, we know you're doing this. And so they got a better price, and the price to the florist came down. That's one of the strengths of floral fundamentals. So
wow, quite a almost like equalizer.
it is an equalizer. The idea was to the problem is always going to be in the middle, and everybody has to make a living. We have to be realistic about that. And I'm not knocking all distributors by any manner of means. They've had a hard time too. But you can't constantly charge the florist over the top. And even when we looked at the figures, because we went further, because I love research, it's just great fun. I do it all the time. And I could see the same flower going to the same auction and 7 or 8 different distributors coming into the same country, buying on the same day, and the disparity of the price going out to the florist. It was ridiculous. So it needed to be sorted. So it was good. That was the strength.
It was like the market forces here. That it needs to be controlled, the free market, or is it not too free a market? What do you think?
The problem just now is the amount of breakdowns, the amount of lockdowns that we are going into. Certain countries are closing their doors to distributors. If they do that, that's one of the things that happened in March and April and May, is that there was too many flowers and they couldn't go out. Well, growers have to make a decision at that point in time. So let's take chrysanthemum, for example. Chrysanthemum, the minute it's cropped, they're producing baby plugs to continue, to have the constant availability. And well, what was the point? If you were going to have to plow under your crop, what was the point in replanting? So different growers had to make different decisions. In the case of roses, if they were going to have all these roses and they couldn't sell them because they were only allowed to put 30% of their crop into the auction. So what happened to the other 70%? And were they going to get a decent price for it? So they had to make a decision, and the decision impacted on availability for the next 6 months. That was how long the impact was. The same impact was how can you send them out if there was no air freight available to distribute? That was a major problem. So I remember sitting down doing a live chat with Pete, saying, "Okay, so what about next year? Because all these brides are cancelling for this year. What happens next year?" He said, "Next year's a problem." Because if everybody's cut back and the availability has shrunk, but everybody's transferred to 1 year. I mean, I know florists who don't have an available date in 2021.
Wow.
But who's to say it's going to go ahead in 2021? We need the vaccine, but does that heal all the problems? No.
Wow.
It's going to take longer.
And gloom here. Actually, is it all doom and gloom? And Amy here is actually saying here that in the UK you've got Brexit as well. So how does that add up?
You tell me. I tell you, you're talking to a Scottish woman who voted against it. I have no idea. As if we don't have enough chaos with COVID, we've got Brexit as well. Honestly, I don't know. The logical point is, and one of the trends is to buy local more. Is to buy more local. Yeah, but the problem with that has been that some florists, I have to say, I'm the admin on 19 different pages on social media. It's just ridiculous. But I see the cross section of what's coming in, and it's all done on a trust basis. I only step in if I can either stop rumours that are wrong and tell them the truth, or else if I think someone's in trouble and I can help, which happens more and more often than you think. And to try and alleviate the depression, Pete's always saying to me, "You need to do more live streams, Alison, because you're so positive." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm not going to lie to people, And we're not... we're affected too, but at least we're truthful about it and we're upfront about it. We've been getting huge compliments about that, which is very, very sweet. But
I think it's actually absolutely wonderful, because actually the first thing of trying to be positive is to acknowledge that there is a problem. So, and trying to deal with it and trying to work with it, is one thing. Talking about trends like you're talking about, maybe one trend that is more visible now that you've just enlightened me before we enter into this live, is that maybe perhaps if we include some dried materials in the fresh flowers, would that be more manageable rather than trying to predict on all the fresh products and the prices?
There's two sides to this. Actually, there's three sides to this. The straightforward answer is yes. That's a straightforward answer. And the trend towards that started, I remember having a discussion this time last year with Two Design, Pascal and Rudy from Two Design in the Netherlands. And they were off to, I think it was Ethiopia, and I was talking to them about mosquito repellent and God knows what. Typical moi. And then bless him, Pascal came back with a bottle of champagne, so we had a long chat. Oh yeah, I see you've put up this. This is a very interesting case in point. This is the work of a gentleman called Robert Bartolin from Slovakia. Robert came to my attention through our competitions. In my opinion, this is a magnificent piece of work. Sue Phillips, my sub-editor and editor-in-chief of Floral Fundamentals, agree, because that's made with sunflower seeds. You know, he's taken the sunflower seeds and turned them into something sinuous, something exquisitely beautiful. And that's one of the things, is the difference between someone taking a bunch of dried material or the dreaded helichrysum or helichrysum, depending how I'm a child of that era. If I saw another helichrysum, I would, but now they're back. Now they're back. The difference of a designer taking on board the dried concept and turning it into something sinuous and sexy like that. I think you've got another picture of him actually wearing something.
Yeah.
That's the mark of a designer. When someone asks me what is a designer in terms of trends, this young man is, and he deserves, he's a professor, he's utterly charming and completely dedicated. There you go. How about that for a handhold? Isn't that sexy? And that is actually Robert. Hello, Robert. You are gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. But you should also have a picture from Nicu from Romania, from Floral. He has 13 shops. He and his brother have 13 shops. I asked him, I did a live stream with him recently for Floral Fundamentals. How many shops are still going? He said, we have 13 shops and 13 shops are going ahead. We have diversified into doing different things. Well, this is the way ahead. Absolutely. He deserves to succeed. Robert deserves to succeed because they have come about it differently. There's our Niku. Now this is very clever. He's taken his grasses, he does, and there's a video on social media of him doing this huge hand tie of grasses. And then slotted through it is a new variety of clematis, or clematis, depending on where you come from, produced by Martin Parr. Martin Parr, I think, are single-handed rescuers of garden-style bouquets for florists around the world because of the cut. They've got a wide range, but their clematis are magnificent. This is on trial to see if it's strong enough, because they're very fussy. They've got another 2 that are coming out that are sensational, absolutely gorgeous, and that's to show how beautiful this is.
And then you was saying, actually, I think the term to be dried flowers, to be dried materials is more appropriate. What do you think, Alison?
I think dried materials is the best word. We did an article with a designer called Connie van der Westerlaken. You should be following her on social media as well. And Connie, you know Connie? Connie's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You will know Connie. She was at Leeds.
Yeah, she's going to be our guest next time. Yay.
Really?
Yeah.
Bravo. She's a darling. She really is but a superiorly talented designer. Now, Connie put up something on social media. I said, can you turn that into step-by-step for fusion flowers? She said, but it's for Christmas. I said, yeah, I want you to explain that you have a problem getting fresh flowers. You're in Holland. Yeah, there she's going, that's me.
That's you.
That's my darling. She has a problem getting fresh flowers. There's a lot of florists around the world having problems getting fresh flowers. It's awful, because this is their lifeblood. This is their lifeblood. This is what keeps you and me alive. It's kept me alive for many years. I said, turn it into step by step, because I want the concept of you going out into your garden, deadheading and cutting and drying so that you can use it. And this is, as you say, dried materials used and combined with living material. That's how to do it. That's how to make it work.
It's going to be really.
What a lot of commercial florists are telling me is that they're afraid of bringing not afraid, not looking forward to bringing too much dried material in because it's fragile, because it takes up a lot of storage space, which it does. That's true, and it's breakable, and I get that. But for high impact, like Nico doing his big bouquet, Connie doing her, her look, and it's all dried, but it's combining other elements like Lerner wool, and dried pine needles. It's a piece of blooming artistic genius. It really is. I'm not saying that everyone should rush out and do the same thing, but if you can open someone's mind to looking at even waste product. I used to do a lecture, a seminar actually on waste product, because when you're cutting the ends of grasses or whatever, I always put them into one of the florist boxes. I would always have one with me, and broken petals, things that couldn't really be used, that you couldn't find a use for. And I turned them into material by using spray glue. So I would build up layer upon layer upon layer until it was thick enough for me to use. And then I would peel it off and use it to wrap into things or highlight things. And it's just, being Scottish, we don't like waste.
Talking about like foreign materials, how about paper? Do you think paper is a good thing?
I love paper. Absolutely adore it. There's a new idea come out. I sent you a picture for, because I think it's personally for you personally, right up your street, because I happen to know you quite well. I don't know if that's close.
That's true.
But yeah, here you go.
Yeah, just call
it. Really interesting because you know how the fashionistas took on board fresh flowers, starting with Dior, and it's dribbled right the way through Versace, everything, Dolce Gabbana, the lot. If you look at this is a paper manufacturer's, and this is a way to use fresh flowers, because you wrap the box. If you're not getting a huge budget, like doing a Nikolai Bergman, box design that he does so brilliantly out of Tokyo. And really to understand his thinking and his procedure in doing that is very, very interesting. It's not like bung it in a box kind of thing that a lot of people have gone for. His is a reveal thing. It's a storyline done particularly for corporate design. So when a corporate event's there, you walk in, and Japan is a different marketplace. But the Japanese box of delivering flowers was a tradition when he went there, but he took it and turned it into a sexy commercial product. So when you walked into a board meeting, every person on the board table had a little box in corporate colors. And then at one time they lifted the lid, and inside was a corporate design, always clear, always with an airspace, so that the flowers were fresh and clean, etc. The guy's a genius, actually. Hello, Cumbria. How you doing? Scotland's on board. There you go.
Connie, wow. A lot of people.
Connie is Cony, darling. Susan Hunter, that's her name there. Connie van der Westerlaken. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so we've got like loads of people like networking just on this platform now already. So
this is what it's all about. I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So how about this picture then? I really like this because it has purple in it.
I know you. That's why I sent this to you. The boxes are covered in this beautiful designer paper. I love paper. I love paper. I love fabric. It's my art background. And then they've cut so the fresh flower can go down into a water source. This is brilliant presentation for someone who is you explained the Hong Kong market to me the first time we worked together in Hong Kong, and how ladies like things in little bags because they don't want big purchases. They want, chic. They want it to be chic. So this is perfect for your marketplace. But it's also perfect for other marketplaces that you can ring the changes in how you present things. Window displays done like that, stunningly beautiful. Really, really, really gorgeous. Okay, Susan's founder, well done. Um,
lot.
the picture you're showing just now is one of the 4 trends stated by Flower Council of Holland. And you can key into that through, and this is all one word, funny how flowers do that.co.uk.
Okay.
And you can access all their information and photograph and their pictures. You can download some poster size if you want to display them in your shop or whatever. This is their future trends for next year. If you look at this, because I've argued the trends thing with people for years, if everybody produces the same trends based on the same ideal, I remember arguing with one duchy saying, "Oh, you seriously expect a florist to repaint their shop 4 times a year? Are you on drugs or something? What is on?" There's no way they can do that. And if everyone produces the same thing, you're dead in the water. You are dead in the water. This is about individuality. You must find your own identity.
It's also about the half-life of products. The life of the product seems to be amazingly short nowadays, like two months, and it's all onto a completely new concept. So, change is probably the forever constant, really.
To be honest, if you were to ask me what my trend forecast for next year is, it would not be pretty. You have to think in terms of the following things. Anger. Frustration. Yes, anger. People are angry. Frustration. Yeah. Loneliness, isolation, and nature. Because the strength of the floral industry is nature. That's our big strength. And people need that in their lives. So it's all very well to say, and actually if you look at this image that's up just now, there's a calming influence there. But they don't state that. So it's about trying to calm people down, to make them okay with their own environment. This is a good example. I love that you featured this. The subject is dyed and painted flowers, okay, or plant material. You'll see there's a monstera painted, an alocasia leaf hand painted. Here is the thing. No florist has the time to stand and hand paint a leaf like that and still be realistically commercial. In painting that leaf, you have reduced its shelf life dramatically. We've been to the paint factories. We've been to see, much to Pete's upset, he put me in the doghouse over this, saying, "You can't go there." I said, "I have to go there because I have to find the truth." So many people tell you the things until you go, you cannot find the truth. So we are in a situation where people want ecologically sound products. The Floral Fundamentals people, one of the criteria is, or we have many criteria, is they're not allowed to join if they are not eco-friendly. They're not allowed to, I won't be associated with crap flowers. I just won't, I just don't do it. I am a perfectionist.
Statement. I wouldn't want to be associated with crap flowers. I mean, that's
Not doing it.
That's up to you, Alison. Flowers here.
Come on, I've been accused of being a flower snob. Fine. That's fine. You're a flower snob as well. I know what you're like about quality. You love quality. It comes out of every pore of your being. It's in your blood, You need to, you're only as good as the last flower you produced. You are, definitely.
I do completely. Yeah.
And then, so we went to the flower dye factory. Now, well, it's not a factory, it's a big thing. Well, there was a couple of people who came with us who just turned and walked out. But I said to all the designers, come and see. It is a trend, and it's a passing trend for sure. So there's the flowers that are dyed through the osmotic system. So they're dyed through water source. So it comes up, through the stem. Okay, so I'm there with Sue. We're both questioners. So I'm like, okay, what happens next? Because the minute you put the stem into water, the way the osmotic system works is it comes back down. So the flower is changing in colour. Now, as a designer, with my designer hat on, that's quite interesting, actually, to use something that's evolutionary. It evolves. So that's quite interesting, yeah? But what happens to the water that flower has been dyed in, So here you are, and they're saying, oh, it's food dyes, it's edible food dyes, it's eco-friendly. I said, yeah, okay, fine. What happens to the water? Oh, well, we have to clean out every bucket. How often do you have to clean the buckets out? Oh, it's at least 5 rinses. I said, and just rinse. You don't have to do anything else, like maybe bleach it or anything. Oh, yeah, we have to bleach it as well before you can reuse the bucket. Yeah, I said, that's not eco-friendly. You're using more water than the rest of the Dutch would use in a lifetime. You're introducing bleach into a system that's supposed to be eco-friendly. I know people who recycle the carbon dioxide that's produced in glasshouses to heat people's homes. I know growers who recycle all of their people who work for them. Their homes are heated free of charge because the flowers are grown that way. They're so dedicated to the ecosystem. There's no way this is eco-friendly. Then we went upstairs to the ones who are spray painted. And it looked like Armageddon, There was butcher's hooks with
butcher's hooks. Wow.
Honestly, where they hang the flowers to spray them, Now, as a designer, I could hardly breathe, by the way. The walls behind it, where all the colours had been painted on and the textures, from a photo shoot point of view, it was really interesting. You could use that. But from an eco-friendly, ongoing trend that is only going to grow, no. No. So that's the truth of the matter. But only if you go and see it. So if you look at this circle of flowers here, you've got a chrysanthemum that's dyed and actually looks quite beautiful. You've got to say that the pale green tips, the dianthus, the carnation, is also dyed two-tone. Okay. But then the lily. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but here's the thing. I work with people who dedicate their entire lives, who watch flowers grow to make sure it's perfect, because they want their flowers to be perfect. They want the florist or the flower designer to receive perfection. Yeah? When did we start having to produce flowers that look fake? You can go and buy a polyester flower that looks like that. Why should we do that to living plant material? I have very strong views on this trend. Very strong views. But you have to be real. Sorry, my darling?
Do you think it's a passing trend? It has reached its expiry yet?
I think it's pretty close to reaching its expiry. I was on to a lady in Pakistan who sent me a picture of a rose that she's in love with, and it's a red rose that's been dipped in wax. And she said, I love this. I said, do you? How long do you think it's going to last for? And she said, well, no, but it's beautiful. I said, yeah. The minute you dip it partially in wax, you're killing the flower. I mean, I admit, the minute you cut a flower, you're killing it as well. But the minute you do that, you reduce the longevity of the flower. And are you okay with that? And it has to be delivered to Pakistan. How long have they got? So, no. Here you go. John saying, it looks like you might not have it. Really?
That's an understatement, right?
No, I think I've watched people when I've done reports from my garden, how much it affects people when you take them out into nature, Solomon, and you show them.
No, it's really is important. Nature really is important. I felt it personally, so I feel strongly for that. Mm.
I know, and we've had, just to let people in on the news, we've had a couple of discussions recently, and for the first time in all the years I've known you, and I don't know how long we've known each other, but it's more than 2 weeks, that's for sure. I've known you for a very long time, and I have to tell you, I had to break down the Solomon Reserve. He now can actually hug me. Big hugs, my darling. It's actually, I think we owe it to ourselves to be true to nature. Now, you can do beautiful things with nature, but nature is beautiful in itself. And I think if you get too over controlled about things, it's okay, you can be on trend for a little while, but if you look at the people who have lasted the course, who are still famous years down the line, these are people who respect the flowers that they deal with, and when we set up Floral Fundamentals, one of the things is I demand that you respect the designers, because a lot of us have not been respected over the years. And I said one of the reasons for starting this was to try and stop what happened to me happening to anyone else. It's a common story around the world where people are feeling so isolated, It's remarkable. It is actually remarkable that, we've had to counsel people through situations where Pete's like, what do I do? What do I do? I said, just get a box of flowers and get it to them. Just take it to them. If you can get it to them, that's going to help them. Just opening that box and forcing them to condition the flowers, because they won't let them die. Isolation is a terrible thing. So as floral designers, that's the strength we have, is that we can break down that wall of isolation by using flowers.
Yeah, because by nature, by its very nature is to communicate emotions, right? And I do that, and then you're like perfect, especially when we're looking at Facebook now with the international ban of virtual huggers. How selfless is that, and how wonderful a thoughts that you've given us, Alison.
Thank you. It started a long time ago now, actually. I don't know, it was a Facebook friend. Well, the Facebook friend thing is like, really? I have thousands of these people. Who are you? And I'm hoping there's a connection. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm going to say village people. I don't mean YMCA, but there's a lot of that going on too. But people in our village or in Scotland that I know. But then there's all these other people who come rushing up to me saying, I'm your Facebook friend. Really? You don't look like that in your picture, so it's okay. But this woman, a lovely lady called Kira Kelly, and she's from Texas at that time. She was living in Texas, and something she posted, in those days it came up quite well, that you could see most people, but I have 5,000 friends and God knows how many hundred wanting to friend me for some reason. Anyhow, she posted something, and there was a tone in what, because I'm an editor, so there was something, I don't know what it was. So I contacted her and said, are you okay? And she said, oh, how did you know? And I said, I just have a feeling. She said, I have to go into a hospital tomorrow for a mastectomy. I've got cancer. And she said, I'm just terrified. I said, okay, well, I'm here. Talk to me. And she said, well, what can we talk about? I said, your choice. Ask me anything. And then she said, do you play Scrabble? I mean, Solomon, what is Scrabble, for goodness sake? So I said, no, but you can teach me Scrabble. So we did this online Scrabble thing, and I stayed up with her through the night until she was there in the morning. And I said, look, I'm going to try something. I hope that's okay. Can I share with people? She said, yeah. So I went onto my page and said, look, this person you're never going to meet, probably. You've probably never heard of her, but she's frightened, and maybe if you could all just send her a virtual hug, it might help her. So I told her what I'd done, and she's still to this day, she's one of the first always to put a hug up. She said it got her through the night because she watched the world wakening up.
Mm.
And it was, and I've had to set a criteria now that if somebody wants me, I get a lot of requests. But my thing is, have you asked the person concerned? Maybe they don't want their illness or their state of mind to be shared with everyone. And how can they see the hugs? They have to be able to key into that. So if they're not a friend of mine on Facebook, I have to link it to the instigator's page. So they say, oh yeah, but quite a few times people don't want you to do it. But I have a good friend, Jens Poulsen. He's a media person, and he took me to one side with a very large bottle of wine and said, "Are you off your head, you mad woman? Why are you doing this? Is there some need in you?" And I said, no, it was a need in someone else. He said, it's just ridiculous, Alison. It's just totally ridiculous. And then, oh, thank you, darling. Then, absolutely, endurance. That's it. His son was taken into hospital. He has a lot of children, and one son was diagnosed with meningitis, and he was beside him through the night. But one of his other sons was on another floor, diagnosed with cancer. And he and his wife were rotating between the two floors in the hospital. So I said, watch my page, and if you want to fall out with me, fine. So I put up a request for a hug for this hardened PR journalist person. And he came back to me. He said, I'm a humble person. I said, why is that? He said, you got us through the night. He said that I said, it's a hugely powerful thing, and until you've experienced it, the huggers actually did it to me once when I was at a very low ebb. And initially, I have to admit I was slightly blasé about it. Having been the one to instigate previously, someone else had done it. So was it power removal? Was it my ego? Whatever it was. But about 2 or 3 comments and that was it. And they actually managed to get me into tears. This is good because it's broken down this. So endurance, absolutely. I always say to designers, whatever happens, whatever they throw at you, whatever goes wrong, I can top the story 100 times. It's all happened to me before. What you need to do is go out and be true to who you are. In China, a few years ago, I was lecturing in Beijing. And it was a very prestigious event, thank you, darlings. And I opened it to question and answer because I love question and answer because I answer anyone as long as it's nothing too personal. And there's this lady, and she stood up, microphone, 2 translators, fine. And she said, the reason I came here is I came here to copy designs, to see designs that I could copy and use in my business. Okay, well, that's what China's famous for, so fair enough. But I'm here to try and break that. And she said, well, you have broken it. She said, I've realized I have to find who I am. And I said, bingo. If you can do that, you will succeed. And you will find your own marketplace for it. People who say they know their customers inside out they're dealing in a tunnel. You don't. You have to try and show your customers you can do different things, because that's how you attract new customers, apart from anything else. And that, to me, was a huge breakthrough. I loved it. I remember also going to interview people who wanted me to work for them, but I was interviewing them, and they all got the same question. I said, "So, I'm looking for new talent here. Is there new talent in your country?" And this person said, "No, there's no new talent here. You'll never find any talent in this country." I said, "You and I can't work together. I'm really sorry." And
Quite shocking for him to say that. It's
well,
quite
it was a school. It was a
oh,
school,
oh,
and
how do you
it was a
teach?
school.
Mm.
I was horrified. I said, "So what you're telling me is you're taking all this money from these people you're supposedly teaching, and there's no talent.
Mm.
It's only you can import the talent, and they have to pay to see it." I said, "You're wrong, and I will find the talent. It's here. In a country this size, of course there's talent." So I'm really proud that I've managed to find as much talent as I have in China, and
Mm.
opening doors and sitting down and talking to growers. It's actually a very humbling experience to do that. It really is. Holding people's hands and saying, "You're not isolated. You don't need to be isolated. It's just about communication." So we're hopefully going to run a competition eventually in China to find the next Floral Fundamentals ambassador.
Wow, that is fantastic news. So, do you think that moving on, what is the very exciting sort of project, or maybe there are projects, or maybe there are ideas or concepts that it's brewing sort of in your head? What's going to be next? Are we
Well,
allowed? No.
well, you can get a taste.
Ooh.
I think there needs to be big change. I have a low boredom threshold. I've always had a low boredom threshold, I have to say. And there's too many formulaic things going on. Hell, you've been to Chelsea for years. I bet you can find your way around Chelsea if you have no vision at all. If all the lights are switched off, I bet you can go into that main marquee and say, "The tulips are here, the gladioli are there, the hellebores are over there, Austrian roses are there." Yes?
Yeah,
So
of course.
you're on this conveyor belt, this because it's tried and tested, and I understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand the reasons behind it. When you go to the Ellesmere Trade Show, you know where you're going to find this one, where you're going to find that one. I'm always looking for somebody who's prepared to push it a bit further.
Mm.
I do a lot of work with Just Chris because they allow me to take the muzzle off and go and do different things.
Mm.
The plan is in 2022 we will be back at Singapore, which I happen to love Singapore with. I just love the people. I love
Mm.
that they've supported me in getting education for children in botanics. So I love working with kids.
Yeah,
They
it's the next big thing,
they
right?
they absolutely, they know no fear. They have no prejudices. They have no fear of color. I love that. I have no fear of color either. But um, the look on parents' faces when this little person arrives, going with arrived down, and they're like, "Oh, what have you done?" It's good. Love it because they love it. So Singapore came up with an idea. It was actually Haryanto who came up with the original concept. So I was listening to the concept. I thought, we need to take this further because number one, I'm excited. So I had a word with an old friend of mine, one of the grey tops, as I call them, or the white tops they are now, called Gregor. And he was coming up with an idea somewhere in Germany. And I said, "I'll only do it if we can break down barriers. Because, we've proved it can be done. We've shown people the way it can be done, but now it's done. We're not doing it again." because others will immediately copy,
Mm.
you know. So that's fine. We just have to keep evolving. And it's about multimedia. It's how we can encourage an excitement in the media for the world of flowers. It has to be done with a lot of energy. It has to be done with a lot of respect. Some people have tried it before, but because it gets messy and unrealistic, it's never worked before. But this concept that Harry had put to Singapore, I said, you need to get the television cameras into that. And they're, what? I said, you need the television cameras to follow the designers going into this venue. And you need to follow them round, and then you have to get them to come back and see the final product, which will be staged in such a way that's chic, elegant, whatever. And they said, do you think they'll be interested? I said, darling, I am media. I'm telling you, that's good television. But don't stop at television. Let's get it out on live stream. Let's take it global. Let's do the whole thing. And they went and their research came back and said, everybody's up for it, Alison. I said, yeah. So then I put it to Germany and they said, oh, yeah, we're interested. So there's a Nordic country I'm talking to as well. And the logic is to take it into the Netherlands as well, because the Netherlands struggle to get certain things going on as television programs. And I said, there's a way around this, but you have to change how things have been done before because things get tired. I have to plug you into a battery now because I'm draining my battery. I have to do this on iPad because I don't have a camera.
It's all very, very exciting, Alison. It's actually what a wonderful idea, and I really, you told me a little bit about that, but we are really looking forward to like seeing all this concepts coming into reality. Hopefully in 2021, right?
If I can get it live in we're definite for 2 venues in 2022. Definite. The bigger catchment will obviously be Singapore. But I'm looking at Japan as well, and hopefully I'd like to do this in Australia. I think that would be really fun because Australia could do with some help. Actually, they could do with quite a lot of help. It's quite interesting. So and my goodness, if anyone can do it, so can Hong Kong.
Oh wow, that would be fantastic. I think so. I think it's completely doable. Well, think about that.
I just think it's about communicating it. When they do, for example, you were at the World Cup. We didn't make it because Dennis was ill, as you know.
Yeah.
But really, they do the surprise packages all the time. Well, how incredibly boring is that? I mean, that is just it's. I analyze how people approach it. I find that interesting. I've actually always found that very, very interesting. But it's the really good people analyze each thing before they use it. Tamas.
Yeah.
Tamas, I watched Tamas, and every single thing he'd calculated out before he used it. This was a guy who was going to succeed. You could tell that, which is great. I adore that. But I think because it's so prescriptive, it has to change. So things like the trade fair events have to be able to attract florists back in, but they need media. And the only way to do that is to make it sexy. Otherwise, it becomes the cat sat on the mat is black. It's too monotone for them. They need energy and excitement. So the video at the beginning We all need more flowers. It's not often I compliment the Flower Council of Holland, but they nailed it that time. Absolutely.
So maybe we'll be seeing a lot more like floral TikToks and stuff like that. And also, Cookie is asking your views on big flower fight. What do you think of big flower fight?
Big flower fight. Did it do any good for the people on board? Unlikely. Did it get flowers onto the main screen? Yes. But for what purpose?
Mm.
I don't see a positive outcome from that, unless it's just individual thing. It's about not making things cheap, nasty, and ugly. It's about making something sensuous and beautiful. And some of the people I'm lucky enough to work with, I find myself in positions of sitting with government departments and things like this, and I have to keep pinching myself, think, why am I here? And it is genuinely humbling. I remember sitting beside the First Lady of Singapore once, and she said, well, I'm here, the reason I've come is to say thank you to you. I said, what on earth are you thanking me for? I mean, she just had dinner with the Obamas, for God's sake, and she's thanking me? Seriously? I loved her. She was great. And I said, why? She said, because you've brought botanics to the children in Singapore. She said, you've made us think differently. And I said, oh, well, that's my privilege.
I really think that children is the future, especially in COVID now. So that like a lot of people can't go to school, especially where I'm in Asia, a lot of people are not school children are not being able to go to school, and I think a flowers a little bit can help them. Creativity, organization, everything.
It is absolutely the way forward. I'm often asked why, if you see me turning up somewhere, there'll be a lot of younger people with me. I mean, our youngest ambassador in fundamentals, the youngest one we ever took on, was 18 years of age. And somebody said, oh, why? I said, because she has turned up to every single photo shoot. She stands there quietly watching. She doesn't interfere. If somebody needs to sweep the floor, she sweeps the floor. She doesn't need to be asked. She'll hand people things. She won't push herself forward. That's the kind of person who's going to do really, really well. She needs to get a formal education, which she did in the Netherlands. That's fine. And then I said, okay, do you want to come to Floral Fundamentals as an ambassador? And she just started to shake. And her parents were shaking and said, and they're growers. It's Jolanda Vanderloop of Look Lysianthus and Marcel, her husband, also known as Darth Vader. That's my funny joke. He does look like Darth Vader. I sing the theme tune when he comes in the room. And I said, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet, but I'll send you somewhere. And when you come back, you'll be ready. And she said, okay. I said, so where would you like to go? So that's one of the other things that happens in fundamentals is people go to other people's shops to help and maybe refresh them at their own expense.
Yeah.
So we sent her to Steinar Hansen in Norway. I think she was bankrupted the first day she went to the supermarket. I had tried to warn her how expensive it is there, but she sent me a photograph saying, and there's a photograph of her supermarket basket, and she said, that's my month's allowance for food, Alison.
Wow.
I said, it's okay, Steinar won't let you starve, I know him. She came back and she became an ambassador, and she's just grown. And what's wonderful is she's met other people and they treat her as an equal, but they're there to help her as well. And that's another strength of the organization. It's really not something we could have predicted.
Yeah.
So rather than have something ghastly and ugly, actually Jan's saying here, the sensitivity of floral design is being prostituted. Absolutely. And that's not what we need to do. I don't mean get all peace, love, brother, all that stuff. I do mean that if you key into someone, I said to the ambassadors recently, earlier this year, the chrysanthemum growers are in trouble. Could you make a love heart just using chrysanthemum and any other material you have that you want? But chrysanthemum need to predominate, and take it to someone you care about.
That's the difference.
And the result of that, we couldn't get the good video with Jimmy England from Sweden giving it to his father because he'd had to post it. But his dad sent this thing, he only says is, "Thank you." Honestly, cracked me up every time. What a lovely man. You know, that emotion between flowers and nature, and how you talk to them and they go and sit in their gardens to get in tune with it. And so when I was able to say to the ambassadors, look, our growers are in real trouble, they're not selling their products, immediately they responded. Immediately. So it's this support mechanism. And I don't see, it's now global. We're everywhere from Australia to Siberia. We have one person in China to America. We're all over the world. It's really, and we don't want too many ambassadors because one of the things I try to do is help them with their businesses. So I can't take on the world. That's not feasible. And we're still all doing this for free. You know, come on. But there has to be a situation where you move forward. The future is to stop the damn jealousy, is to start getting back to nature, is to be realistic. And if you get an opportunity, if I had the opportunities that we give to people through our organizations, either through Fusion Flowers or through Floral Fundamentals, if I had had those chances, I would have bitten your arm off. Getting chances is not that easy. You know that.
True.
You know that.
True.
So I think you have to be true to yourself, be true to the way forward, be the best you can be. It's going to be tough. Take an entrepreneurial stance, but whatever you do, don't give away your expertise for, you know, online for a moment's notoriety, because all you do is you lose yourself and you lose your concept and you lose what makes you special. Be clever as to how you do it.
Wow. So with that, so it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to filter, and there's a lot to really sort of think and sleep on and regurgitate and realize and materialize as well. So I think, you know, that we have just had the most wonderful 1.5 hour chat with our lovely Alison Bradley. And did you know that you actually become the highlight on my birthday? Actually,
Your birthday!
hey, it's my birthday.
Oh,
so thank you so
darling.
much.
Oh, see, do you know what I am? Do you know what I am in China? You know, because you've got your it's astrological chart is different to the West.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I turned up one day and all these people turned and said, "Yeah, she's a dragon." What does that mean? Breathing fire? No, this is complimentary, Alison.
Yeah, dragon's always good. Dragon's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Alison, for being with us for this 1.5 hours. It's been absolutely wonderful. And everybody next to the screen, I hope you find it absolutely inspirational. So thank you so much, Alison, for taking your time to us. All right.
You take care, my love.
Definitely. So we'll be rebroadcasting this to all of our groups. We'll be sharing it around. And if you have any questions, you know, to Alison, I'm sure you do have a lot, you know, please do ask.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, my darling.
Bye.